to the first episode of Rad Season. I'm stoked to be joined this week by Erika the Viking Vikander, who's just finished third on the Freeride World Tour. Hope you guys enjoy. Erika, how are you? How's everything going?
I'm doing very well, thanks. Everything's good, just hanging out here in the Pacific Northwest. How are you doing?
Yeah, really well, thanks. So whereabouts are you at the moment?
I am in Hood River, Oregon, so super close to Mount Hood, right on the Columbia River, across from Washington.
Okay, and how long have you been there for?
I moved over here in October, so I'm a very new Hood River transplant, but I had been living in Welch's, which is on the other side of Mount Hood, the dark side, as they call it, for the last 5 years or so.
I'd love to take it back to the beginning, because you grew up in Montana, is that right?
I did, yeah. I was very lucky to grow up in Bozeman. I was actually born in Southern California. I was born in Malibu, so my life could have been very different if my parents didn't move up to Montana at the tender age of 2. But yeah, we moved to Bozeman and I got to grow up there, and it was such a unique place to grow up. And I feel so grateful to have had that much space to grow up in as a child. I don't think like a lot of people think about, just how lucky you really are to have space to run around, and that it was safe, that you could run around and like truly be a kid and like express yourself and have that freedom. And there weren't so many weirdos out there where like you could let your kids run around the neighborhood until dark and not have to like worry about stuff. So it was a very beautiful place to grow up, and I'm so grateful to my parents that they moved us out of Southern California when they did.
And would you say did it, like being there and being outside, when did the whole like getting into skiing, or was it snowboarding first? What kind of started it all for you?
I skied when I was little. So through the elementary school that I went to called Hawthorne, which I'm pretty sure Wade went to the same one. But we had like a little ski program. So they would take us up skiing, and my mom would always volunteer to chaperone the ski school mission or whatever. So we went up there and we would go, maybe a couple of times a year sort of thing, and ski. And it was always fun. I think they put us in lessons or something. And then at one point I joined the Mogul Mice, which was like the little kid ski team at Bridger Bowl, which is the same resort that Wade was explaining to you, this little hidden gem in Bozeman. And just like the most amazing place to have grown up snowboarding. But yes, I was a little Mogul Mice for a while. And then when my older brother switched to snowboarding, when he was probably like 14 or 15, I was about 12. And so Big Bro switched over, and I was like, oh, well, if he's going to do that, like I have to do that too. And so it turned into one of those learn fast or die situations where I was like chasing he and his friends around trying to learn how to snowboard, and learned very fast how to keep up with the boys.
And how old were you when you were chasing your brother around then? When was that?
Man, I must have been like, probably 12 or 13, because my parents divorced pretty shortly after that, and I moved to Utah when I was a freshman in high school. So I think I must have been 14 or 15. So yeah, I was just a little tween running around chasing Big Bro and trying to be accepted by the group.
At that time when you were a kid, it was quite a small, well, not small, like it was sort of not a really popular, well-known town, right? Or was it?
Yeah, it certainly wasn't on people's radar the way it is nowadays. Between the university and people figuring out about Bridger Bowl and the vicinity to Big Sky as well, it's really geographically a perfect location for people. Surprising it took them that long to figure it out, but due to social media and all of the cool stuff that we get to watch on the internet nowadays, it's like all of the once sort of secret spots are now becoming more and more well known. But it's great, and I think it helps, it obviously helps stimulate the local economy, and will hopefully, help propel skiing and snowboarding into the future generations and make it like a real staple of being a Montanan, because it wasn't really when I was growing up. It was like you had your diehard skiers, but most people were ranchers, most people were farmers, and that's like what you are if you're from Montana. You're a hardy person that gets stuff done, but not necessarily somebody that gets to recreate and do fun stuff all the time. It's like, it's rough up there. It's kind of like Alaska in a sense, where you have to be very self-sufficient
Like going back before that, like before you got into snowboarding, were you skiing before then, or what was the path?
I did ski when I was little. I think it's important for kids to ski first. It really helps to create a basis of edge control understanding. And your little legs, I mean, it's so much easier for your little legs to do a pizza and a French fry versus trying to stand sideways, which is a position you're not very comfortable with, especially when you're small. So anyways, yeah, I skied when I was little, and my family wasn't super into skiing or snowboarding. I honestly, to this day, I still don't know how I got so into it. But we would go once in a while, and I got to go up with my school. They had these programs where they would take us up when we were kids. My mom would chaperone, and then they had little programs at the local hill. So I was part of the Mogul Mice, which was super cute. I look back at those days. I'm like, oh, it's so rad that I got to do that. You know, the older I get, the more I realize how lucky I am. And despite, like, you know, my life hasn't been all rainbows and sunshine, but I choose to focus on the good stuff, and you know, all those bad things or the hard things that you go through are like little life lessons that turn you into the person that you are today. So
no, that's it. And then, like, was it was your brother, right, who kind of he got into snowboarding first, and it was, yeah, you were then looking at him going, okay, I want to do that as well? Or
yeah, well, cooler big bro started snowboarding, so I was like, well, what the heck, I want to be like him and go with him and his friends. So forget, they must have rented me gear when we first started out. There's no way that they bought us stuff. So I must have rented gear, and I went a couple of times with my brother, and it was a very, very fast learning curve, because if I couldn't keep up with them, they would just leave me in the woods, and it was scary, and I was young. And so I learned how to keep up very quickly. And it's still a fun thing that, like, my brother and I, you know, it's kind of the running joke now, because there was a time when he was so much better than me, I couldn't even possibly keep up. And now that the tables have turned a little bit, it's fun for me to kind of prod him a little bit with that. Like, hey, bro, you want to race? But he still kicks my ass most of the time, because he's like a 6 foot tall Spartan man and weighs like 200 pounds. And so he just smokes me. I just don't weigh enough to catch him anymore.
and then what happened, like, because you guys moved to California, right? So that was sort of after Bozeman.
Well, my parents divorced, and so my mom and my older brother actually moved back to California. So they moved to Laguna Beach, and my dad and I moved to Park City, Utah. So my dad had a friend that lived in Park City, and so he knew that I was super into snowboarding, and was like, we're getting out of Montana. It was kind of, like I said, without going into some areas of my life that I'm not really comfortable sharing with other people, it was the best decision for me to get out of that situation and that group of people that I was hanging out with, and move me to this other place. And he chose Park City. And so my dad and I lived in this like tiny little apartment when we first got there, which is not cool in Park City. I'll let you guys know, when you're in high school. And I was like this new kid. We weren't rich. We lived like in an apartment. I took the bus to school, and like kids were so mean to me. So it was like such a funny thing, because you never, you know, in Montana, we were certainly not poor by any means. We weren't like the wealthiest people. We were very middle class. And I never, you know, fortunately for me, I never thought about money and stuff. I never looked at other people and was like, oh, like this person sucks because they're poor or whatever. So moving to Park City for me was like a very foreign experience in so many ways, where like these kids were kind of mean to me because I didn't have the same stuff that they had. And I think that was actually what lit the fire in me to be like, well, fuck that. Like, wait till these kids see me snowboard.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like.
Was that just because like you weren't wearing the same kind of clothes as them on the bus, and they were kind of like, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you know, just like how petty kids are in high school. And yeah, I was like this outsider. I was a new girl. I was like good at snowboarding. You know, like, I think it really came down to like some of the cooler people like wanted to hang out with me, and like the older kids, you know, and then all of a sudden all the kids in my class were like, oh, let's be friends with you. And it's so funny that it like sticks with me still to this day. And I think the reason it does is because I think that was the turning point for me, where I really was like, I am not just your average person. Like, I'm going to do something fantastic with my life, and like, just watch, just because I don't have money doesn't mean I'm not going to be successful, kind of thing. So it was kind of like I've always felt like an underdog a little bit. And I think that's part of where my motivation comes from, is always feeling like, oh, well, you don't think I can do this? Like, watch me.
Do you reckon that set the fire in you then? Like back then you were just like, okay, I'm going to prove these guys wrong and this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I do, because I really like, and a lot of these people are like very close friends of mine now, but like, when you come from a town like Park City, like you have a lot of opportunity, you have a lot of resources financially and in every other way. And so for me to look at all these kids with all of these things that I always wanted, all of these resources, this family that was into skiing and snowboarding and like coaches and all this shit. And I never had any of that. I dreamed to have that. And so I think like watching those kids not take full advantage of what was served to them literally on a silver platter, like inspired me to be like, well, no one's going to do that for me, but like I can do this for myself. And I went and did it.
That's awesome.
It's been a struggle, but I can say I did it.
So like going back to, if you don't mind, like going back to Park City, is it true you got a scholarship and you went to a winter sports school? Is that right?
Yeah, so that was where I was trying to go with that whole tangent of getting put on probation, and then my mind just like walked away from me. So yeah, after that happened, I obviously got kicked out of high school, and so I wrote a letter, like an essay, to the winter sports school in Park City, which is a school that's catered towards winter sports athletes, where you go to school all summer, so you have the winters off, so you can travel and compete and not be missing a ton of school. So I wrote a letter to get scholarship there, and just explain that like I come from a family, like we don't have a ton of money, like I'm new to town, and super passionate about snowboarding, and they like accepted it, and I got full ride scholarship to go to the school for 3 years, which is like essentially as much as it costs to go to a college. It's not super cheap. And so and that was just another one of those little confidence building stones that I've now I recognize throughout my life. But just that, and being able to show through writing how passionate I was about this thing that I was trying to explain how passionate I was to everybody, it was really rewarding. And to see get the benefits of getting to go to this amazing school. And I'm proud to say that out of the 22 people in my graduating class, all of whom had their parents just pay for them to go to school, I'm the only person in my whole graduating class that still does their sport at a professional level. So I feel like that's another testament of like, just because other people have more opportunities than you do, or it seems like they do, like you can always create those things for yourself if you're willing to put in the time and effort and energy, which it's a lot.
And like, would everyone kind of go there with a specific sport in mind, or were they kind of doing like multiple sports where they would, or multiple disciplines within the sport?
Well, it was primarily ski racers. Okay. So like in the ski racing world, everyone does like slalom and giant slalom and whatever else there is. I was never a part of that world, so I don't know that much, but I think I might have been the only snowboarder in my class. I think I was actually the only snowboarder. I think everyone else was a ski racer, and there was like one kid who was like a golfer or something like that. Like a couple of cyclists, but mostly ski racers is what it was. And then little me on my snowboard being a rebel.
and what did you focus on? Were you doing pipe, or were you kind of looking at slopestyle then, or?
At that point, I was primarily focused on slopestyle. Okay. To me, that seemed to be the most direct way to get to where I wanted career-wise in the snowboarding world. I mean, there's a lot of different aspects and paths that you can take in order to become a professional or to be able to make a living. For me, competing is just the most tangible way. It's like you win, you won, you're the best. You win money, you go on to the next level and work your way up from there. So that was a good way for me to get started. And I started out slopestyle, you know, like little USASA competitions. And then I moved up into the Grand Prix and then like the Do Tour and US Open. And so I got to compete in some of the biggest slopestyle contests like in the world. And I was actually on my way to qualifying to go to the Sochi Olympics, the first slopestyle that they would have had in the Olympic Games. And that's when I unfortunately tore my ACL, like right before I would have gone. But that also steered me into this big mountain freeride stuff that I'm doing now. So everything, it's so cliche to say, and I hate it, but like everything does happen for a reason. I really believe that. And if I hadn't have done that, I probably would have ended up just breaking myself off more for the next few years doing slopestyle and not been able to continue the career that I have now at this level in the park, because I wasn't willing to just break myself off. And like the stuff that the girls are doing now is so amazing, and I'm so psyched that I'm not a competitive slopestyle athlete anymore.
And back then in the day, I mean, were you looking at slopestyle and you're like, okay, I just want to win events, and was it all gearing up to the Olympics?
Well, the Olympic thing didn't really come into fruition until obviously 4 years before. So no, for the most part of my career, I was just riding. I just wanted to snowboard, and I'm a competitive person. I just wanted to be the best. So I was like, compete, snowboard, compete, try to get better, keep living your dream. And I lived my whole life with the philosophy of everything's going to work out and everything's going to be okay. And everything always has been to this point in my life. So I'm just going to like stick with that philosophy. And no matter where I end up or what I end up doing, I know that I have the power within myself to be happy and grateful and stoked in any place and whatever I'm doing. So I'm like, whatever happens, happens, and it's all good.
That's it. And when the injury happened and you tore your ACL, and like the build up and everything, I mean, that must have been devastating. Was it something like how did you deal with that? Well, I guess like mentally and physically, like.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say it was a lot more difficult mentally than it was physically. The physical part of it, I have a very high pain threshold. I mean, it's sucking up and going and doing your physical therapy and going to the gym and pushing through the pain and pushing through the pain and icing and then pushing through the pain some more. That part wasn't hard for me at all. It was the mental aspect of like I just worked for 4 years to get to this place and it's all gone like that. Like all my sponsors dropped me. Like it was like my whole life changed like very dramatically. And so mentally it was, I kind of went into a dark place for a little bit, but I mean, you know, I like to say, I think I'm pretty strong mentally too. Like I've been through way harder shit in my life than blowing my knee. So like, I just had to be like, all right, time to put your big girl pants on and deal with it, suck it up. And like, you got to make it happen. And if you want to come back, you have to like mentally come back stronger, you know? So I just started focusing on like meditation and breath work and yoga and like all this other kind of like heady, like hippie shit that I still love to this day. And
did you do any of that before? Or was that kind of like you were kind of looking for like things that could, I guess, speed up the recovery or just help you deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, I don't know that I was looking at it as like a speed up kind of thing. Okay. It was more just like, I think this piece is missing from my life. I do this like super high intensity, stressful thing, and I have no way to like unwind the mind. So meditating and yoga definitely helps a lot with that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many things that I want to do. And I'm kind of one of those people too, where I'm just like, wow, like this aspect is so interesting. And like, you know, psychology is so interesting and like essential oils and crystals and like all this crazy shit. It was like just kind of the perfect time where I'm like, well, I have this time now, like I might as well look into this stuff that I've been interested in and just like haven't found the time for because I've been snowboarding. Like I have 6 months to just lay here. So let's do it.
What was going through your head like during that time? You're thinking, okay, like what, it's going to take me 6 months to physically recover, then try and get back on the snowboard. Were you thinking like back then, like, okay, I'm gonna try and recover and then I'll be back doing slopestyle? Or
yeah, I think at that point I was thinking to come back to slopestyle. My main thing with my recovery was I had seen how many of my friends have torn ACLs, especially, and then tried to come back too quickly and then re-torn the same knee. And then I've ended up having like 4 to like 7 knee surgeries. And I knew I didn't want to do that. So I really, although I pushed my time getting back onto the snow. Like I got back on snow right at 6 months, and I started coaching up at Windell's on Mount Hood, which is like the glacier that I ride in the summertime here in Oregon. I pushed it pretty hard, and honestly, in hindsight, I wish that I had not pushed it as hard, because I think I may have done a little bit of damage on the recovery end because I was trying to push it and use it too hard. And that's what a lot of people end up doing. And so when the winter started, I kind of made the decision to fully take a year off of all slopestyle contests, because like just riding is one thing, but like, you know, you're coming off of a knee surgery. Riding POW is one thing. You case an 80-foot jump, you're probably going to blow your knee out again, or you overshoot. And like, those are 2 things that are like very likely to happen. Like, you're not going to hit every jump with perfect speed. Like, these things are going to happen. And I was just like, you know, again, I pay for all my own stuff. Like, I didn't have a ton of financial support. I had to pay for my surgery for my knee. So I was like, I can't afford to do that again. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to not do that again. So I took a full year off of slopestyle, and then I think I came back the following season and did maybe 1 or 2, and just like, I just didn't feel it anymore. It just like the love and the passion just like wasn't quite there. And I was like, well, I don't really know what to do. Like, I'm not done being a snowboarder. And so somebody suggested that I go try one of these big mountain free ride events. And I was like, oh, like that sounds cool. Like, I grew up in Montana, I know how to snowboard. So I went to Snowbird, Utah, and went and just entered this. Was like this random girl. I was wearing like a double XL hoodie, and like all the rest of the people were like, who the fuck is this girl? What is she doing? They're in like their technical North Face gear, and I like rolled straight out of the terrain park. I was just like, what's up? Like, and went in there, and I got second at the first one I ever did. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, this is a thing, huh? And like, I realized there was like this whole series and like all these like, you know, people that like take this super seriously, and like the Freeride World Tour. And I was like, oh, all right, well, I think I'm gonna like give this a go, you know. And so the following season,
did you know much about it before that, or were you like, you know, a friend mentioned it and you're like, okay, you know, let's just give this a try? And
basically that, I was just like, what do I have to lose? Like, I like competing, I like snowboarding, like whatever, like let's go give it a shot. And then like after that result, I think it kind of planted this little seed where I was like, oh, okay, so like, how do I qualify for the Freeride World Tour? And then someone was like, oh, well, you have to like do this qualifying tour, and you have to win the whole overall. And I was like, wow, like that sounds really hard. And then I went and did it the next year and got on the tour. And now 5 years later, this will be my 5th year going in this season. And it's like, holy shit. It was probably like the best decision I ever made, was to go do that little free ride contest, because had I not done that, I probably would have just phased out of the slopestyle snowboarding and competitive professional snowboarding altogether. And I would have never got to actually explore what I have to offer in the snowboarding world. So again, everything happens for a reason. I definitely didn't want to blow out my knee, but if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be where I am now.
And how was it that first year on tour? So like doing all the qualifying events, then getting on, how was that experience?
Well, it's so challenging because there's 2 different regions for the way that they do the Freeride World qualifiers. So there's like a North American region, which is essentially the US and Canada, and then they have a European region, which includes all of Europe, obviously. Japan is on there as well, and they have New Zealand and Australia in the European region, just for athletes from those countries. But anyways, the main difference between the qualifying in Europe and the qualifying in the US is because we live in such a sue-happy nation where everybody's terrified to get in trouble for something or get sued over something, which they will. They physically have to make the riders ride the venue before the contest. So unlike the World Tour, which is what I compete on now, where like you literally you only look at it with binoculars from like a valley away, like you're not even close to even touching the snow. They have 200 riders side slipping the entire venue before you even go, because for safety, they have to look at the takeoffs, they have to look at the landings, which if you're a competitor, it's a great advantage. You know, if you know what you're jumping from and landing on, that's a fantastic thing. However, if your goal is to qualify for the Freeride World Tour, which was what my goal was and what most people's goals are, it doesn't do anything for you, because it takes you in the opposite direction of what you need. Because once you get to the tour, sometimes, like I said, you're not even getting close to the hill until like you're walking up it to go compete, or you're flying over in the helicopter to go up there. So trying to go from a physical ride inspection to a visual only inspection is incredibly difficult. And the European qualifiers, they are structured the exact same way as the Freeride World Tour. So the riders don't get on the course at all before they actually compete. So riders that qualify through the European region are typically in a much better spot than North American riders. Hence why North American riders, primarily the females on the snowboarding side, haven't qualified through and remained on tour for many years. So that's, you know, what I've been most proud of is like, I was the first North American female to not only re-qualify for the tour the next year, but then the next year and the next year and the next year. Because aside from me, the only other person that had been on there for that long was Shannon Yates, and she essentially got like a wild card in. So like she didn't have to do like the qualifying tour that I did. It was like they like selected her and they're like, you are awesome, like you should be on this tour. And then she held her spot for those years, but she didn't have to do like that first step of winning the entire qualifying thing to get on there. So it's a ton of work and energy. And I feel that the qualifying athletes don't get quite as much love as they should from like sponsors and stuff, especially because it's, you know, like you're trying to get on the Freeride World Tour. It's like, it's a big deal to get on the tour, and it costs you a ton of money to travel all around, pay for entry fees, pay for flights, pay for lift tickets, pay for lodging. Like, you know, these people are spending a ton of money and time and energy going around to like make these events happen. And I wish that there was a little bit more support for the qualifying athletes, because once you make it on the tour, it's obviously easier to gain support because there's so many fewer of you. But it's a freaking battle, man. And every year it's a freaking battle. And there's so many good riders on those qualifying events that it's like, you know, for me, I felt like not that I got lucky necessarily, because I do believe that I was snowboarding well and like better than my competitors, and that's why I got the spot. But it's freaking gnarly.
Yeah, and there's only is it like 7 or 8 spots for the female riders?
Well, yeah. So total on the World Tour, there's typically only 6 spots. Okay. So you have to be in the top 4 to re-qualify, and then they take 2 new people each year. So 1 from the North American qualifiers and 1 from the European qualifiers. Right. So yeah, so then that's how the fresh people come in every single year. And yeah, it's definitely very difficult. And I have a lot of admiration for the people that are able to do it, because it's so hard, man. And there was obviously an element of luck for me as well. Like, you know, you can be the best person and just have like a weird thing happen to you on your contest run, you get a bad score, you know, but it's like, there's a small amount of luck built in there as well.
And having that, well, I guess that disadvantage of being on the US side during the qualifying and then going over and doing like those first events on the World Tour. I mean, the whole visualizing and just being able to see it, like you were saying, like from a helicopter, are you like looking at video clips, and how are you kind of gearing yourself and kind of getting your head around that?
Typically they're better now in the last couple of years. My very first year on tour, they didn't give us any sort of photos or any sort of reference like that. Like a lot of times now we'll get at least like drone photos that they'll take like a couple days before, so you can at least have an idea and find some landmarks of like where you're trying to go. But the first year I was on tour, they didn't have that even. So it was like little old me coming straight out of the terrain park, straight out of like never visually inspected anything. And like, these are real big mountain venues. Like you can get super hurt and or die if you like take a wrong turn. So I was just like, oh my God. Yeah. Like my whole goal of the first year was just like, just don't die. Just don't die. Like that's all you have to do, Erika. So, but now I feel, you know, now this was my 4th fourth season there. And I'm just now beginning to feel like I'm getting the hang of visually inspecting a little bit and finding lines that like cater to my style that I can ride well. And again, you know, it's like, it's different because like in North America, we don't really ride that way anyways outside of competitions, you know, like everything is so regulated here, and resort boundaries and rope lines and this and that and blah, blah, blah. So it's like, you don't really even have a chance to practice that sort of visual inspection in the US, where like all of the girls that I compete against, like all are Europeans. So they grew up in the Alps, like doing that since they were children. So it's very second nature for them. So it was even more astounding for me to come in and then like watch these girls who are really good at it and then watch their lines. And I'm like, oh my God, like, how did you even see that? Like, I would have never even seen that freaking rock right there, you know?
Yeah, and like with training, I mean, what do you do to kind of like, are you taking a backpack with you, like when just on kind of day-to-day snowboarding, or are you kind of like when you're free riding and stuff, like without like outside of competition?
Yeah, I do ride with my backpack almost every single day. It's very rare that you'll see me not riding with a backpack, and those are the days that I'm just riding park and there's no reason to have a backpack in there. But even if I'm just riding around the mountain, like it's like become a part of me. It's like a part of my kit now, where I feel naked if I don't have it on. And yeah, you know, it's like, you know, you always have your beacon and your shovel and your probe in there. And typically I'll ride around with my avalanche airbag backpack, just because I like to get used to the weight of it, because that's what I have to compete with. And my setup weighs right around like 8 pounds or so. But in the preseason, I'll actually ride with a bigger backpack and like put as much shit as I can possibly fit in there, so that it's like weighing me down, so that when I switch to my smaller Abby bag, it's like a 12-liter bag or something like that I compete with, then it feels light. Because otherwise, if you go from like a normal backpack to an avalanche backpack, you're like, what the hell? And then you put, you know, your full canister and all the other Abby gear in there, and like maybe some water for your hike.
You don't want to be like toppling over or like...
No, and every little ounce, like you can feel it. Like there's been certain times jumping off stuff, like cliffs specifically, landing specifically, where like you can feel, like if you have a bunch of weight on your back, you're like, oh my God, like engage core.
Congratulations on last year, like on like coming third on tour. It's an amazing result.
Thanks.
How are you feeling? Is that all kind of like sunk in now? And
yeah, it's kind of sunk in. I mean, I was third overall last year as well, so I was really hoping to bump it up like to that second overall spot. But you know, that's the beauty of competing, is it's like it's always going to be somebody's day, and as long as that person is like a lovely person and happy to be snowboarding, I'm totally happy being beat by somebody. But I was hoping to get up there. So now it just really lights the fire in my belly for next season. I really want to move up the ranks a little bit. I feel like for me, I'm very proud of my consistency. I think it's very easy to have like a one-hit wonder kind of event on this world tour, where like you come in and you like win an event, and then you end up in like 10th place for the next like 4 events or whatever. And that's great. And that's the way that some people roll. For me, like I feel better like getting second or third at every single event. I mean, obviously I'd love to win, but like just being on the podium at every event, I feel like is a really good indicator for me of like, okay, what you're doing and what you're figuring out formula wise for this big mountain freestyle stuff that you're like still pretty new to, like whatever I'm doing, it's just my own assurance that like it's working. Like keep doing what you're doing, keep building on it, because like these results show me like this formula is working out for me. So it's, you know, but we all want to win.
And what else are you doing? Are you doing any other sports to kind of keep fit, like in the downtime now and over the summer?
Yeah, I picked up wake surfing last summer. Nice. Which I realized that it's not a super easy thing to pick up. You have to have friends with a boat and time and all that stuff. So I was very lucky to have some friends that got a boat, and they're like so keen on wake surfing. And I have to say that's like hands down my new favorite activity. Like if I could do that every day, I'd be so hyped. And it's such a great crossover training for snowboarding. Like same kind of muscles, same kind of back leg weight, same sort of, you know, center of balance point. And it's like, it's so cool. And it definitely will help transfer into surfing too, which I'm not great at. I've done it a few times, but I'd like to get better, and that definitely helps. And aside from that, I also got a mountain bike last year, so I'm trying to dabble into that world a little bit without injuring myself, because that's
I'm the same with that, with like the biking thing. Like I'm a keen surfer, but it's sort of like I'm getting more and more into the biking, and it's kind of, you know, the narrower the single tracks go, you're just like, all right, like just looking at the trees.
I just
and
know
the
I'm gonna get wrecked eventually, and I'm not willing to take that fall anymore.
Yeah.
The only time I'm willing to fall that hard is on my snowboard when I'm getting paid for it.
So what do you have planned? What's coming up?
For the rest of the summer, I'm just going to be cruising, doing all those things we just talked about. But I'm putting together a movie project. We had formulated this whole plan with my outerwear sponsor, Picture Organic, for last season. And unfortunately, just with all the COVID stuff and the weird permits and stipulations, we just weren't able to make it happen. So we're going to move on to this season instead. And I've got a lot to think about and a lot to do as far as that. I never had any idea how much goes into making even just like a short documentary style ski and snowboard film. It's a lot, and I already feel like I'm behind. Like I should have been sending out emails last week.
And what's it going to be about? Is it going to kind of be of like, you know, almost sort of looking behind the scenes of your life on tour, or is it more of like a travel piece, or what's it going to be? Yeah,
well, that's kind of what I had to figure out. So my original idea was actually to do it here at Mount Hood, and I had selected 3 female snowboarders and 3 female skiers who are all like badass pros and friends of mine. And what I really wanted to tell, like through the story, so Picture Organic has a very big imprint on sustainability and trying to make an eco-friendly impact. So that's part of the stipulations of the film, is I'm trying to do it sustainably. What that means or how we obtain that, I'm still trying to figure that out. But the original plan was that we were going to split board up to the north side of Mount Hood, which is like the side of the mountain that nobody ever goes to. And essentially it was going to be like a behind the scenes of like our struggle fest of split boarding, because like split boarding with a bunch of girls up there, I just think would have been pretty hilarious. And I really just wanted to show like the camaraderie amongst females, especially, but not just ski females or just snowboard females, like camaraderie amongst both the sports, that there actually feels like there's still this huge like division between a lot of places that you go. Like there's still like this hate between skiing and snowboarding. And I think it's so hilarious. So I kind of wanted to touch on that a little bit and be like, we're all just here like trying to slide on the snow and like have a good time. Like, what is the beef about? And show that like we can all be friends and get along, and you know, kind of something along those kind of lines. I need to, like I said, I need to actually sit down and put some more time and effort and thought into this, because now thinking about my idea from last year, there's quite a few things that I would like to do differently, and perhaps even travel somewhere. Like I had chose Mount Hood because during the COVID time and everything, I was trying to keep it local, just because I wasn't sure if we were actually going to be able to travel anywhere. And also once you start traveling places, then that gives you a bigger carbon footprint. So then there's all these little, like, if I do this, then this does this. And so I'm trying to figure out how to offset all these things so that it's just like a neutral thing that I'm really excited about. But it's definitely hard, and just there's so many different angles. And how do you come up with something that's unique that people haven't done before, that people want to watch? It's like, holy shit, this is, I don't know. It's hard.
And the Freeride World Tour, they're doing this carbon offset project as well, right? Which they're doing with Protect Our Winters, and yeah. So what are they doing there?
Yeah, so it's really awesome the way that they do it. So at the end of the season, they actually ask all of us for like an Excel spreadsheet of all of our travel, like to and from. Did we take a car? Did we fly? Did we take a train or whatever? So they figure out how much carbon was emitted from each one of us individually. So what the tour then does is they go and they plant trees. to offset the carbon, which is really cool, and certainly something that they took the initiative themselves to do and to promote. And this year they did another little side project with POW, which is Protect Our Winters. And so what they did was they had a few of us athletes travel to some of the stops in Europe by train instead of taking an airplane or something, which as you know, in Europe, the train systems are amazing. However, doing train transfers in the short amount of time that you had to do them sometimes with a giant snowboard bag and all your other stuff is like not super easy, but it was really fun. And I mean, it was just totally one of those, like, you know, shit show of us running around train stations. But it was so much fun, and it was cool, especially for me, because you know, in the US, like we don't really have trains that, I mean, are useful for anything. We have a couple, but like certainly not for public transportation. So it was really neat for me to even just be able to have that opportunity to travel by train and show other Americans, especially, that this is a super easy way to travel. It's really efficient, and you don't have to drive, and the airline can't lose your bags. Like, what's the downside?
What, like, I mean, if you, like, now looking back, like we were talking about between all the hurdles, I mean, is there any sort of advice that you would give yourself if you know, back then to your, you know, 18-year-old self?
I think my advice to myself would be the whole world isn't out to get you. I certainly went through a period in my life where I felt very much like that. And I think a lot of teenagers do. But I think my advice would be the whole world's not out to get you, and this too will pass. Everything is going to be fine in the end. And like, you know, my life motto, like, it's all going to work out in the end, man. I don't know how, but like, put out the positivity and it always works out. And I truly, truly believe that. And, you know, just one other, I would say to my younger self, like, remember to think positively, because when you think positively, those are the pathways that you're wiring in your brain to remember and then continue to live your life like that. The more you think negatively, the more your initial instinct is to have an adverse or a negative reaction. Try to like catch yourself on that and think in a different way about it, because the more you wire those negative connections, the easier they are for you to make. So just to throw my little scientific spin in there.
So what's the best way for everyone to follow, like, what you're up to, and yeah, just kind of follow your journey?
Yeah, if you want to follow me, I'm very good at updating my Instagram. My handle is Erika the Viking Vikander. And I also just got a website up, and it's live, and there will be more stuff coming onto it. But my website is also erikathevikingvikander.com.
Nice. And are you going to be adding, like, is there going to be video clips and stuff going onto the website? And
yeah, videos and like blogs, and you know, another place that people can check in with me is on obsesh.com. Okay. You can actually book an experience with me there and ask me anything about snowboarding or traveling or gear or anything else you can think of. So those would be the best places to check in, and stay tuned.
Well, Erika, thanks so much for your time. It's been really, really fun chatting to you, and wish you all the best for, you know, for getting ready for next season. And we'll be keeping an eye on the tour, and yeah, hopefully everything goes well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ollie. It was a pleasure to be on here with you. I really enjoyed chatting and the opportunity to share my story a little bit.